Hi, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. Tonight, I wanted to talk to you again about the homeless problem. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming the homeless per se for being homeless. I'm blaming the system for allowing them to stay homeless. I'm blaming the system for making money off of them and keeping them where they're at. But there's a Seattle candidate who says, we've reached compassion fatigue. And what does that mean? It means that you've done all you can do and you're just tired and you can't do no more. You're just tired. You're tired of the same thing going on and on and on. Because once you've done something and the person or the people involved seem to want to stay that way, then you got to figure out what it is that you're doing that keeps them there. What is it about the homeless that keeps the homeless wanting to stay homeless? There's some that are homeless that have no choice. They lost their apartment and now they've got nowhere else to go, so they're on the street. I know what it's like. I was homeless for a very, very long time. I was homeless for a long time. And at first, if you're not used to being homeless, it can be very freaky and it can really bum you out. You're trying to get some sleep. You're tired. You are tired. You have nowhere to lay your head. You're just tired. And then all of a sudden, you're afraid that if you fall asleep, you're going to get hurt. You're afraid that somebody's going to try to rob you. After a while, you kind of get used to it, and you find places where you can go where it's pretty secluded and quiet if you're not living in a shelter. But if you're homeless, you eventually would hope that you would not want to stay that way. I was homeless when I was younger. I was kind of stupid, and I made some bad choices. And I was homeless. I was floating around the United States, moving from place to place. And for me, I was kind of enjoying it. I wasn't what you would call chronically homeless. I was homeless by choice because I always spent my money on other things besides my responsibilities, such as my rent. I stayed in hotels. I ate at nice restaurants. And I just moved around a lot, and then after a while I didn't have the money coming in and I just was homeless. So now I'm not homeless, and I want to try to help fix the homeless problem that's in Seattle. But here it says, we've reached compassion fatigue with the homeless. Numerous Seattle residents are unhappy with the direction of the city of Seattle, and chief among the concerns is the Seattle homeless issue and the city council's lack of an urgent response. Now, it's not just this city council. You cannot blame Jenny Durkin and the rest of the people here. Precisely them. You cannot blame them expressly. You have to blame the city council as a whole, because since about 2000, when they could have really fixed the homeless problem, it was just starting to get on the rise. They could have squashed it and fixed it when things were much cheaper to do so. They decided not to do that. So you have a ton of people that are living homeless now, and city council administration after city council administration after administration, year after year after year, people just sweep the problems under the rug and they don't deal with it. So now you have what you have now. And it says here, council candidate Ann Davison Sattler is running against Deborah Juarez in District 5, which includes Lake City, Broadview, and Northgate, where such issues appears disproportionately overt. She joined the Jason Ranch show on KTTH to discuss how the city is failing the homeless issue and what she hopes to bring to the table. Now, before I get into what she was talking about, I just want to let you know that everybody is always a lot of talk. Talk, talk, talk. It's easy to talk. It's easy to talk about things. It's really difficult to put those things in motion. That brings me to mind to a movie that I saw, which I really like, called Tora, Tora, Tora. And they've got this radar station. They have no idea what it is exactly. And they said, well, what are we supposed to look for, sir? And he says, any large blip, anything that looks unusual. And they said, well, you know how to operate this, right? And he goes, well, we know the theory. And he says, well, let's put that theory into practice, which means that you can talk all you want and you can read it in a book, but until you actually start doing it, it's never going to amount to a hill of beans. It says here, there's not really a concrete plan about what to do. It's just reactionary after months of complaints about growing encampments. Then the city eventually comes in, she said. I do feel like because we've declared a state of emergency in 2015 on homelessness at the city and county level that we should be giving it a proportional response. Now, they don't have nothing concrete. I have video after video in my videos. I have said how I would deal with the homeless problem. I have given ideas for fixing the homeless problem. You're not going to do away with the homeless 100%. Everybody from now and then is going to become homeless. When one becomes unhomeless, there'll be another one taking its place. But we can chop it down to size. That's the thing we want to do. Chop it down to size. Now it says here, Sadler originally moved to Seattle to work for the Supersonics and is currently an attorney and mother of two. She says she's witnessed the Seattle homeless problem impact everything from businesses to families using parks, and while she appreciates programs like the navigation team, she says that they're often not effective and timely. I think that they are an important part of what we're doing, but they're not doing it effectively and they're coming in too late. That's because I personally believe that they don't care. They don't care. The only time they care is when people jump down their ass about things, reach up there and grab their colon, and then they start caring. They're coming in late after neighbors are already at this level of compassion fatigue, where they have increased crime, they have increased litter, they have lost a sense of safety, they've lost the ability to go to the green public spaces that are supposed to be open for everyone, and they're fed up. Now, not all homeless are bad people. Not all homeless are drug addicts and alcoholics. Some people, such as myself, when I was homeless, I was an artist, struggling on the street to make money. But you have an awful lot of them that are drug addicts and alcoholics, which give the homeless as a whole a bad name. She said, by allowing that to fester, we are alienating the tax base at the same time and not providing care for those who are the most vulnerable in these encampments. And we're allowing bad actors to thrive. Sadler sees this lack of urgency in the Seattle homeless issue as devastating to the business community as well, with customers avoiding business because of what's going on around them. It has been growing for years, and we've had experts tell us that we need to be forming a regional response. And that's just not in the making. I feel like everyone has had their time, and this is all increased on their watch, including the current council member I'm running against, she said. I've spoken with someone who had an encampment right next to their business, and he estimated losing about $10,000 a month in walk-in business right there on 99. I went and helped clean up needles along that area and saw how bad it was while it was still there. And it's going to be there, because the city council will not put a stop to it. You cannot pussyfoot around anymore. You cannot be calm and cool and collective. You cannot show compassion. You have to do some tough love. If you really love the homeless and you really care about them as a person, you have to stop them from being homeless. You have to get them into some place so they can get some help. They are past the point of making responsible decisions on their own because it's affecting the rest of the city. I am a firm believer in constitutional freedom. I really am. But I also believe that one man's freedom should not override another. And when you are more into worried about how the homeless are treated and how badly they're going to be treated and because they're homeless and because they're people, you are putting the rest of the city in jeopardy. You are putting the rest of the city in bad straits. And that is wrong. And hey, I was homeless. I know what it feels like to be woke up in the morning at like 6 o'clock before everybody starts coming to work. Get out into the cold, especially in the wintertime. You get out in the cold. And if you work a job at night, heaven forbid, they don't want you working at night because they got no shelters to let you sleep during the day. And they get you on, they get you out early in the morning, and then they get you in late at night. They get you in after all the workers have went home. They get you out before the workers go to work. The workers don't mind the homeless being there. They just do not want to see them. It says here, for Sadler, the growing frustration is causing residents and businesses questions. Oh, for Sadler, the growing frustration is causing residents and businesses to question how their tax dollars are being put to work. That's what's been allowed to happen. The deterioration of local economy and small businesses to where people are saying, why should I do this? Why should I maintain my business here when my tax dollars are not even providing me the service of litter cleanup, of safety, of law enforcement, and seeing that we're actually using the top tax dollars to help people that are in need at the same time. Although I am compassionate toward the homeless, I also believe that the homeless should not be allowed to stay comfortably homeless. When you've got people from other states moving into Seattle because they heard from a friend that Seattle treats the homeless really, really good and the police don't harass the homeless, there's something wrong there, because no city should be a magnet for the homeless. To learn more about Sadler's campaign, head to neighborsforann.com. neighborsforann.com. I will put that link in the bottom. It says here that she's running for city council, so we will see what happens. I think she's just going to be a bunch of hooey, but you know, what do I know? I'm just a guy that cares about Seattle and wants it to get better. I want to make Seattle great again. And when I say great again, what do I mean? I mean that when I lived in Seattle back in the 90s, Seattle was at a spot where we had clean air. We had no traffic in downtown. We had free buses in the free zone. They were all electric, and we had buses that went underground in tunnels. We had mom and pop restaurants everywhere. We had seafood, and we had all kinds of stuff. And it was cheap enough to where anybody could move to Seattle and make it. Yes, there was some homeless. Yes, that's true. But most of those people that were homeless because they couldn't get an apartment. They didn't want an apartment. They liked living outside, or they couldn't find work. But for the most part, anybody that moved to Seattle that had an income coming in could find an apartment. It was really cool. I had an apartment in Capitol Hill. It was one bedroom, roughly 600 square feet, $495 a month, fair market rent value. You ain't going to find that now. Anyway, if you like my videos, please put a like and subscribe. I'm doing the best I can to try to make a difference. If you think that there's something I can do to make my videos better, let me know. Put a comment. If you think that I could do something to make a better video for later, give me an idea. I'll see what I can do. If you don't like my videos and you think I'm just a bunch of hooey, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Like and subscribe, leave comments. This is an us presentation, you and I. Can't do it without you, Seattle and abroad. That's for tonight's episode of We've Reached Compassion Fatigue. This has been another episode of All Things Considered. Thank you, Seattle. Have a good night. And to all points beyond, good night.